says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and cry out to her that she has served her term, that her penalty is paid. Comfort, comfort, O people. When we hear prophets speak, we most of the time think that they are predicting the future, and that really isn't the truth. The truth is they are speaking reality as it is. And sometimes that's a reality that seems obvious, and sometimes it's a reality that people don't want to talk about. But when a prophet speaks, you always hear the words coming from God. So you have to remember who God is to us and how God has revealed himself to us. Let me give you an example of a prophecy. This one is in the political realm. I'm not going to be partisan at all in this, I promise you. So I'm going to tell what I think is a prophecy. If the people don't vote, we will no longer enjoy a representative government. Now, the truth is, from a statistic, that 2/3 of the eligible voters on most elections never vote. And sooner or later, that third is going to give up, and then there's going to be 5 of us who will continue to vote. And I'm sure somebody's going to come and say, like in a bidding war, I'll send you to Hawaii for 3 years, all expenses paid, if you'll vote for me. Hawaii? I love Hawaii. Well, but I'll send you to 5 years, both to Hawaii and to pick your own place. Well, you see where it's going to go here. Now, if we mark this down, December 7, 2014, 73 years after Pearl Harbor, when it was extremely important that we stand up and stand against tyranny. If in 10 years or 15 or 20, we don't have a representative government, those of you who would remember what I said today might say, gosh, he was a prophet. Well, that'd be a nice thing for you to say, but no, actually not. Because all I'm really telling you is the truth, and it's something that you all know. So I've drawn your attention to it. That's what prophets do mostly. They draw our attention to what is actually happening in today's world. Now, sometimes to be a prophet is to talk about the underbelly of our society, to talk about the things that are going wrong, to talk about the things that don't line up with God's will. God's will for us is that we have full and abundant life. That's God's will. So a prophet is going to call us to that will. Are you enjoying your life? You may be struggling through things, but are you feeling that God is with you? Do you feel like there is a presence inside of you? Do you feel like even in thickness there is a light? Sometimes even that might be difficult to do. But a prophet is going to call you to that light. So I'm going to tell you a story that's personal, and it's in my family, and it's true. And this is a story about how difficult it is to be a prophet. My father, when he was 9, his father died, and when he was 18, his mother died. So my father was an orphan just at the beginning of World War II. And he and his 4 older brothers all went into the service. My dad was in the Army Air Corps. I had a couple uncles who were Marines, a couple that were in the Navy. We had a wide scattering of presence in the World War II theaters in Europe and in the Pacific. My father had a great affection for his oldest brother because his oldest brother stepped in when his mom and dad died and began to raise my father, who was a young adult. I mean, he was 18, 19, but still needed some guidance. And then, of course, they all went to war. Many years later, when I was in high school, my dad one night got a call from my aunt, Tilly. I've changed the name to protect both the innocent and the guilty. But My Aunt Tilly was about 11 o'clock at night. Now, I don't know about your house, but the phone did not ring unless it was a national emergency after 9 o'clock at night or before 9 o'clock in the morning. So when that jingled at 11, everybody in the house stood up and thought, what's happening? Well, my Aunt Tilly had to tell my dad that her husband, my uncle, my father's brother, did you get that family tree? Was in the bar down on 4th Street in Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is in the 1960s. 4th Street in Albuquerque, New Mexico made Pioneer Square today look like the Women's Sodality Convention. 4th Street was not a place to go. It was full of a bunch of bars, and every weekend somebody got shot, somebody was run over, somebody fell off a curb. You know, it was a terrible place. My father, at 11 o'clock at night, getting up, leaving his family out of his warm bed, was mad because this had happened one too many times. So my father grabbed 2 bottles of, I don't know what, brandy or bourbon or booze, and took them with him. And he got my uncle out of the bar on 4th Street and took my uncle to a hotel. My family is from Albuquerque, and with 5 Tarter brothers, they pretty much knew pretty much everybody in the town. So my dad went to this hotel of somebody that he knew, and he said, you know, my brother Sam, changed the name, is going to stay with you for a couple of days here. He is not to leave his room. My dad took my Uncle Sam's car keys, his wallet, everything except his clothes, and he left my Uncle Sam in this room with these 2 bottles, and my father said, drink all you want, we know where you are, you're safe now, don't leave. We'll be back tomorrow morning. If you get thirsty, here's 2 more. The next morning, my father and his 3 other brothers met up with their oldest brother, Sam. They all brought 2 bottles of booze. So now there's 8 bottles of booze in this hotel room with my uncle. And my father said, your wife, Tilly, is not here. She's finished with this. She will not go after you one more time. She's done. You are killing yourself with alcohol. You drink way too much. You know it. We know it. Everybody knows it. Nobody wants to say anything about it, but I'm going to say it. So your brothers have decided that we are going to keep you in this hotel room and give you all the booze you want to drink so that we know where you are, we know that you're not going to kill anybody, and if you die, at least we'll know where to look for the body. Now this is my Uncle Sam's youngest brother, that he was a father figure to, speaking to him in that kind of language. Now when my dad said we're done with it, you may as well put that not just in concrete, but granite. See, that foot was not going to move. And then, of course, my father, the youngest, said that, and his 3 brothers stood behind him, which left my Uncle Sam facing into all of his younger brothers. And my dad said, we're done. We're not kidding. You stop, because you're going to kill yourself. If you want to continue to drink, you're here. Don't worry about it. My uncle stopped drinking. I don't think that he ever thought that his youngest brother would have the nerve to step forward and be prophetic. My dad didn't intentionally shame or blame my uncle. He really used what he had, being the little brother, to call his oldest brother to the reality of what the older brother was doing. My dad was prophetic because he stepped forward and called his brother to more life and health. My brother's response, my uncle's response, thankfully, was to listen. I say these things because to be a prophet of God is not to just say, oh, guess what, everything's hunky-dory. That sometimes the prophet has to step forward and say, there is doo-doo here, and we have to do something about it. Let's not dance around this lovely elephant in the room. Let's speak about this to make things better. A prophet of God speaks from God, and that should reach deeply into our hearts and call us away from what is unhealthy, away from what is destructive, away from what is a problem, and towards life and fullness and healing. That's what prophets do. They reach in deeply to whatever that is in our lives, and they say, comfort. Comfort. Take comfort. Your penalty is paid. Come home. That is the message of the prophet. Comfort. Jesus is our ultimate prophet. He is the Word of God for all time, in and out of time. Comfort. Come home. I will gather the sheep, all of them. Come home. Take comfort.